What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into the drop on the track Knife Work.
Keep a double axe like a lumberjack.
But it's knife work. But it's knife work.
So we're going to be looking at the drop, and this Knife Work is the culmination of 3 different song projects. So the stream theme, which is the live stream that you can see, and it was going to be the stream theme. So whenever I would go, do a live stream on YouTube, that would play. Then where I got the drop from was in another live stream where I was just making this crazy drop. But let's dive into Knife Work here. This is the pre-render of the final version on the drops, because this is in a different project, and I bought the render from this project into another project and finalized and re-chopped everything up to get the final product that you hear. But in this project, this is where I composed the drop and kind of sound designed everything. So let's check it out. Here we go. Let's get a refresher. This is what it sounds like in here. Things might be a little different because we're going to be talking about the actual sounds, but check it out. Here we go. So that's the first drop, right? And you can tell it's nothing like the final version, and we'll get into that, why it's like that. But I kind of just rendered this. I took this entire render from this, and I took the parts I liked, chopped it up a different way. Obviously, I used this because that's fire, and it doesn't sound as like gritty and nasty as it does in the final version. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So just follow along here. We're gonna go through each different section here. We're gonna solo it out, listen to what each thing is doing, and we're gonna break down how the sounds are made. So let's go from the top to bottom first. Let's talk about the drum section. Here we go. So obviously just wrote that in here with MIDI, designed the drums. I'll go real quick how I did the drum. This is the kick drum soloed here. That's what it sounds like. It's kind of chopped off, so there's not too much of a tail. It's really deep though. I transposed it down -4. If we bring it up 4, it sounds like this. Still nice, but I needed that deep depth to the kick, right? That's nasty. Then I've got some utilities to control the volume for different sections of the song. Then I've got an EQ. I cut off a lot of the highs, so I actually high cutted it at 400 hertz. It's not playing anything above 400 hertz, and then I low cutted it here at 15 hertz because it gets pretty low, right? And then I've got a spectrum just because I like to see things. I'm a visual person, and I'm pretty sure. I had Rough Rider on here, but thankfully I didn't use it. And I deleted that version of Rough Rider. That's Rough Rider 1. They're on Rough Rider 3 now, so that it tells you where I'm at. Then I've got a glue compressor, which is really giving it that depth, right, and that volume and punch. So without the glue compressor, it sounds like this, right? With the glue compressor. And the magic here is just in the makeup gain. So it's almost like I've raised the volume by 14, and I left the threshold at 0, and I turned the soft clipping on. So I basically just gave it 14 decibels of gain, right? And I left the threshold at 0. So whenever the kick goes above 0, it will be compressed back down. So it is being saved by the compressor, but it's not allowing it to go above a certain degree, which is good. So I always like to talk about how I do the kick drum, because I feel like the kick drum is a foundational element in any song. And if you can get that right, everything else is going to come along with it. Okay. Then the actual snares is a 2-piece combo. It's this clap here with some reverb on it, and then this other clap, which sounds like this. So now if we play them together, just listen at the clap. It's nice, it's wide, and then that reverb gives it the depth. So yeah, layering on your snare is really important. That can be another video. If you want to see that video, just send a message or drop a comment. So that is the drum section. Let's dive into the low end here. Here we go. Ugh, that's nasty. So I just used this hip hop sub bass, and this is an old, like, I don't even think Ableton Live has it in the program anymore. This is a hip hop sub bass. It's an Ableton Live stock instrument, and it's just a pure sine wave, right? And I just played it in by hand. You can kind of see that things aren't even like on the grid. So now to show you that flow here, I'll play with the drums. So that swing was really nice. So yeah, it's just a sine wave. And then on here, I've got it, utility to control the volume. I stuck it in mono because you want your low end to be in mono. And then I high cutted it here at 224 hertz because there are some other like harmonic frequencies in here. So take a listen. You really got to listen closely, but there, even as you can see here, it's being represented. It's there, right? So I wanted to chop off as much of that as I could. Which sounded nice, and 124 hertz is kind of where I left it there. Then I've got some sidechain compression, which is how I do my kick drum and low end relationship with each other at a minus 34 dB threshold. Every time the kick hits, it ducks minus 34 dB, and that ends up giving me a gain reduction of minus 13 to minus 14 decibels in gain reduction. That means every time the kick drum hits, it drops the volume of this by 13 or 14 decibels at a ratio of 2 to 1. And it's relatively quick compression. The attack is how fast or how slow I want the compression to work, and the release is how fast or how slow the compressor stops working, right? So once that kick drum is gone, how long does it take for that sound to go back to its original volume before the compression kicked in? And I'm at 50 milliseconds, so that's pretty quick. And then 0.88 milliseconds. So I'm saying I want this compressor to work fast, right when that kick hits. And you can see that's represented with here. And look at these dials here, how fast everything is going. So it's actually returning pretty fast, 50 milliseconds there. So that's how I did the side chain. And then to kind of facilitate that sort of wobble, because it's a wobble bass, right? And then to facilitate that, I had the sharing tool and an LFO sharing tool. So without the sharing tool, listen to it. See how much straighter the bass is? It's just like you're playing the notes, right? Doom, 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 doom. But now if I turn the sharing tool on, listen to the kind of flow it facilitates. Yeah. Hey. Huh. Let's go. Like, you see that? It kind of gave it that natural swing that was really nice. And I did that by using this here in the sharing tool and Ableton Live stock little plugin here, audio effect. And you use the offset to kind of play around with your swing, and that can be another video too if you want to see how that kind of is facilitated. Just drop a comment or send a message, and you'll see that video in the future. So that's how I did that. Moving into the next section here, so let's kind of go into the actual sound design of this here. Let's solo that out. That Screech is nasty. So first off, let's just go as things pop up here. First thing that pops up here is the Screech, right? And this is my Harvester Screech. This is made in Synth 1, and just right off the bat, what's actually in effect here is I've got a very, very extreme looking EQ8 here. I've got a very, very extreme looking high shelf here of 8 decibel gain at 5.27 kilohertz. So I'm giving this a nice and bright high shelf to kind of breathe some air into the Screech. Without that, it sounds like this. And then with it, it brought it to life. So using an EQ to EQ your Screeches, people don't think of that because a Screech can have really harsh frequencies in the upper end, and sometimes it can be kind of dull, and sometimes, a lot of the time, I just contradicted myself. I'm going to say a lot of the time Screeches are really, really muddy. A horribly done Screech is usually a Screech that is extremely muddy in the mid-range. So it's really important to kind of sculpt these Screeches. Like, for instance, here I've low-cutted it at 170 hertz, and I gave it this like slight dip in 344 hertz. So I was kind of attenuating that mid-range and cutting off those low frequencies in that lower mid-range area, so it's clean and it's not interrupting any other frequency band in the track. So other than that, I've just got utilities to control this, and then some more EQ for different parts here. So different parts of the song require different EQ sections for me to kind of attenuate different frequencies here to make sure it's not harsh and in your face, because you know a lot of people, oh, the Screech, that white noise, get that crap out of whatever, man. This shit is done right. And then I've got Little Plate on here, which is a plate reverb. It's a plate reverb plugin from Sound Toys. You're looking for good reverb? Little Plate. So without Little Plate, sounds like this. It's really in your face, right? And now with Little Plate, look at how, it just splashes into the background. It gives it that depth that the Screech really needs and takes it to that professional level. Check it out. You see that tail that it has without it again? Now with it, listen for the tail when it's like that splash. Listen for the splash. Splash. Like it just kind of rides over the sunset. It's really, really nice. Yeah, so that's how I kind of did the screech. Super important, these things. Really take note of that. Now, the other sounds are extremely simple. This is just, it's just one sound. One sound. That's crazy. So I made this main sort of wobble sound in Serum. I like to write my song, my Serum sounds mostly for these drops with the low cut on, right? I like the low cut. I'm definitely always above 100 hertz. And I like to do my low end separately like I did with the hip hop sub bass up above. I like to layer them together because it gives me more control over how, what each element is doing, right? So, and then on here, I always have an overdrive on my channel just to kind of spice it up and give me a good starting point, So let's open up Serum here. This is how this sound is made here. Oh yeah. So this is my Carl bass. I think I made this in a TikTok video as well. So if I can find that, I'll link that around somewhere too. Or you can just go on tiktok.com/litlords/@litlords. I don't know how they do that. It's weird. And I made the Carl bass. It's the Carl bass video. And but this is how it's made. 2 oscillators, obviously. I use disc sub, disc perk. This is all stocks wavetables here. This wavetable is found in the digital section. It's right here. And then oscillator B's mini bass that's in the analog section. It's right there. So what I did was I have these 2 oscillators going. I'm using an FM from B on the A warp. This is what's giving it that sort of tone. So we're at, I might change it, but just to listen, because I want you to know what each of these does. So the FM from B is what's really giving me that sort of grunge tone, right? It's kind of helping me attenuate sort of the vibe, right? If that makes any sense. And to explain that even more, just listen. So we're at 56% on FM from B here. So now as I play this, listen how I'm going to change the FM from B. Listen to the difference. And it does, FM from B does different things on different wavetables. So that's why it's fun to experiment. We're at 56. So that's what I ended up going at. It was right there. It was nice and mid-range, heavy forward, and it was gritty. And then I left the wavetable positions straight at 1 for oscillator A, and I moved it to 64 on oscillator B. Now, what's really kind of giving us this sort of sound here is this comb filter. So without the comb filter, the comb filter really shaped it. Listen. And so, yeah, the comb filter. Comb filters are goated. I love comb filters. I use these all the time to make some of my gnarliest basses, especially the moving ones, because it kind of really gives that digital sort of, I don't know, like it gives it that extra oomph, and I like it. So experiment with that. That's really fun. And you can kind of hear we're at 90 hertz on the comb filter. Now listen to what the comb filter does. Ready? We're going to start moving this around. I forgot where I was at, but whatever. 96. We'll just go there. So yeah, it really kind of helps you dial in your tone, really finalize your tonality, right? On what you're going for. You could have different variations of this same sound, which is something that I do all the time just by changing your frequency and then changing my FM from B a little bit. So now I've got a different sound. It's a little bit more woody of a sound, right? But that could be my alternate sound in another part of the drop. Sounds like this now. As opposed to our 56% FM from B and our 96 hertz comb filter. See, it's a completely different sound almost, right? And then on the back end in the effects section, I've just got a compressor. Multiband is on to kind of give it the volume and girth a little bit without the compressor. With it. Volume and girth. Always do this, in my opinion. And then I've got some distortion, some tube distortion, and I've actually got the pre on, so I'm kind of taking out a lot of the high end on this. It's kind of like a little auto filter going on here. You see that I took out some of that high end, right, and really attenuated that high frequency band area, because look how nasty it is. Now with it, sounds much better. And then I've just got an EQ here. I gave it a slight high shelf over here because I did take away a lot of the highs here with the distortion filter on. So I bought back some of that, and it's much cleaner this way. So that's why I did that, and I have this at the end here. So once everything is said and done, then I kind of gave it that high shelf. So yes, really basic sound, honestly. And what's going on here is I've got LFO 1, which is on the volume. It's automating the volume here, so that's why it's sounding like a wobble, right? So that's how it's doing that, and I can kind of slow that down by doing this. Now you're just hearing oscillator B. Now we can hear oscillator A as I bring this back up. So that envelope and that, I guess that LFO, you could do this with an envelope as well, but I like using the LFOs. The LFO is kind of going at a quarter note rate here. So that's what this is representing, which is creating in turn that wobble sound. So yeah, super simple sound in my opinion. So yeah, let's hop into the last project here, and I'm going to show you kind of how this kind of cleaned up. I rendered this project and I bought it into a new project with all the different parts from the three different projects that this song, you know, is the culmination of. And I took this and I created this project here. Yeah. So this has the stems in it, and I bought some drums from the previous project we were just in. And now take a listen. This is your final product that you're hearing. Check it out. Here we go.
Double axe like a lumberjack. Keep it double axe like a lumberjack.
But it's nice work. But it's nice work. Nice work. But it's nice work. Nice work. But it's nice work.
And then you can hear this actual second half, how it's supposed to go. So let's go top to bottom here. Obviously, this is all the same, except I'm bringing in Milano's voice here.
Nice work, but it's nice work. Nice work.
And he's just kind of chopped up like that on the first half. Now, you'll notice that it's a lot, the actual song, it's brighter and it's grittier. Listen for the grit here. What's coming out of that? This is what's going on here. So on the drop here, I have a plugin called Thermal, and Thermal is a distortion plugin. So I have this distortion plugin running over the top of this entire thing, and I have it going just enough to where it's not taking away much, if any. It is taking away a little bit, but it's not taking too much low end away, like pure, like straight up low end. But in turn, it's clipping this whole thing and giving us this nice crispy, edgy, like mid-range, and nice crispy, edgy, high end in these frequency bands. And I really like it because this is really simple, right? There's not much going on, so I wanted what was there to be really, really like crispy, right? And then I have a kick drum actually playing here to kind of emphasize, because it does take away some of your transients. So I have a kick drum playing at some points here in the first 8 bars of this drop. On the 1, actually, it's just playing on the 1, and then on the 1, 4 bars in, just to kind of emphasize that down that down note. So check it out. Listen, Glenn, and I'll play it A-B reference here with the thermal on and off. So with it on,
Nice work. It's nice work.
and now you can really hear it in the screech as well. So now let's turn it off.
Nice work. It's nice work.
See how much cleaner the screech is.
Nice work. It's nice work.
Now let's turn it back on.
Nice work. It's nice work.
It's like that screech is trying to escape. So I liked it. You know, I wouldn't advise this. Really not a lot. You know, you really have to be controlled with the way you do this, because essentially I'm kind of degrading the quality of the song. But I don't know, it kind of worked in my favor in this instance. So that's what I did there. And then what I did to create the second half of this drop here, and even in the second drop itself, I started chopping up. I chopped the actual stem of this, because this just goes like this. If we play this, if we get to the end, you'll hear it does what the other project does. So yeah, I didn't do that, right? I just kept chopping it the way I wanted it, and this sort of came out like this for the second 8 bars of this drop. And this is where I bought in the drums from the other project and wrote some new MIDI. So listen to the new MIDI. Sick. And so check it out. Now you play that here. We've got this extra screech too. I'll talk about that as well. But now listen to this sort of swing. Sick. And I don't know, that chop is just amazing to me. That was a last minute thing. I just was playing around with chops and I couldn't figure out anything to do, and this just came out of the toilet. I don't even know what happened, and this was like just the shit. Then what really kind of brought it together was me bringing Milano's vocals over this and chopping it with that. So I chopped his vocal from the actual his initial verse, which is, you know,
With my eyes closed, but it's knife work. Where I've been the king, got a butterfly knife.
and I actually pitched them up, which is why it sounds like a little squeaky.
With my eyes closed, but it's knife work. Where I've been the king.
Yeah, so that's how he sounds originally. I pitched him up 2 semitones and I chopped him like this.
With my eyes closed, but it's knife work. With my eyes closed, but it's knife work. With my eyes closed, but it's knife.
So now when you're in the song, it's like,
Knife work. With my eyes closed, but it's knife work. With my eyes closed, but it's knife.
it's fucking sick. If you like videos like this, make sure you hit the like button. It really helps the video. And if you're not subscribed, get subscribed, because this is something that we're going to be doing more often and much, much better from a professional standpoint. And if you want to get more in depth with production talk with me and even get on some one-on-one classes with me, you can check that out at patreon.com/litlords. I have some slots available. I should, at the time of this video, I do. I have slots available for you to join and get in there with me and improve your craft. So yeah, if that's something you want to do, again, that's patreon.com/litlords. Also, if you see this right here, this is we've got merchandise, not this exact one. This one's for me. Yeah, the dark navy blue on gold, that's me, baby. But yeah, we've got merch up at thelitlords.com/merch. So get yours. It looks exactly like this, embroidered here, and we've got the nice embroider. It says praise be here. Heart City was last year's iteration. Now it says praise be on the sleeve here. Super sick. That's all I got from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.
Give me something dirty, girl.